Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt, and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. And I'm really excited to welcome you to a first series I think that I've ever recorded on my YouTube channel. But I've been really thinking about how can I add value to you and your life. And I know that one of the biggest challenges that you are facing on a day-to-day basis is how to manage and master your calendar and time, right? We always feel like we never have enough time in the day to get everything done. Maybe you're looking into your calendar and you're constantly double, triple, and quadruple booked, and you just feel overwhelmed and you just don't know where to start. So you don't really start to manage your calendar at all. And that is why I decided to do a series on calendar management, because I want to really give you a step-by-step guide on how you can master your calendar one step at a time, right? Because I could do a video now for 30 minutes and give you all the things that I know about calendar management, but I think that we don't really start implementing these things if we have just too much to work with at one time, right? So I'm going to try to break these videos down into small chunks in order to help you really start implementing these things. I really want you to start thinking about the things that I share with you today. I want you to take action. That is the most important thing, right? Because if you just sit here and listen to my video, that is really wonderful of you, but it's not going to help you to really see changes in your day-to-day when it comes to your calendar and time management. So today's video is broken up in 3 parts. The first part is around diagnosis, because I want to make sure that you really know where you're currently spending your time and how much time you even have available per week for meetings, for your own time, for admin time, and so on. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that. The second part are going to be key questions and key decisions that I want you to make in order to really start getting into calendar management. And then the third part is going to be on the first operating principles. As I said, this is a series, so I'm going to share more advanced settings and things in following videos. But today, I really want to focus on the basics, because if we can't master the basics, it's going to be really hard to dive into the more advanced things, okay? So I would say, let's get started. So as you can see, I got ready in front of my calendar because I want you to do the same thing. I think it is really, really important that you are getting really clear on where you are currently spending your time. So I obviously want you to open your calendar and I want you to literally count the hours that you spent in different types of meetings, because I know that your calendar is probably full of meetings and maybe you're not even just single booked, but you also have double bookings, triple bookings, and so on. So take some time, take a piece of paper and a pen and write down how much time you spent per kind of category of meetings. So what kind of categories can be there? Like, for example, meetings with the leadership team, meetings with your team. So no matter if it is one-to-ones, team meetings, things like that, okay? Then another category could be the time that you spent on a specific project. Maybe you're working on one big project and you have meetings around that project. So count that time as well. And it is really helpful to have specific categories. So at the end of this exercise, I want you to basically have an overview of how many hours do you spend per category per week in meetings. So for example, all meetings involving your team are 5 hours per week, because you have one-to-ones, a team meeting, and maybe some other kind of meetings that I'm not thinking of right now. So 5 hours on that, right? And then maybe you have 6 hours of cross-functional leadership meetings. And then you have 3 hours of a specific project category meeting, okay? So at the end of this exercise, you basically have a list of 5 or 6 categories, or maybe even more, depending on your type of job, where you know exactly where your time goes. This is super important, right? Because we are basically creating a status quo on where you are at right now, because we can't really make changes just here and there and then all of a sudden your calendar looks great. I think it is really helpful to first of all get an overview of where is your time currently going, and that is what we are trying to achieve with this exercise. So I would highly encourage you to pause this video right now and take a few minutes to count the number of hours and the categories that you have per week. Once you're done with this exercise, You should have an overview of all the meetings that you have and all of the time that you're spending in meetings. And obviously the next task of this part is to count the total number of hours that you are spending in meetings per week. That could be 18 hours or 20 hours or 25 hours. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment around how much time you spend in meetings. It's just a status quo and an observation and creating awareness around where your time is going, which is super, super important. And then obviously, once you have that insight, it will be really interesting to see, okay, how much time do you actually have left per week to distribute to the things that you need in your life? Like, for example, admin stuff, like spending time on responding to emails, managing your calendar, things for ad hoc things that are coming up, right? Because we know that every week there are things that we're not planning for, but they pop up, and it is good to have that time kind of accounted for. And then obviously it would also be super, super nice if you have some time for project time, for your own individual time, thinking time, focus time, no matter what you want to call it. But I think it is really important to create some awareness around what do I currently have? And now we're moving into the second part where we're thinking about how much do I actually need and what are my priorities? So let's jump into part number 2. Okay, so now that you finished the diagnosis part and you know exactly where your time is going, I want you to answer 5 key questions and make basically 5 key decisions on your own time and your own calendar. Here are the 5 questions. Number 1. At what time do you start to work? This is important, right? Because you need to know at what time you actually want to sit down and start to work. This is really important, especially when you're working from home and you want to set more clear rules and boundaries around your working hours as well. And that brings me to the second question, which is obviously at what time in the day do you want to stop working? This is also really important, just as equally as important as your starting time, because again, you shouldn't have 24 hours in the day to work, right? Because you will have time where you are working and where you're not working, at least hopefully. Then the third question is, at what time do you take your lunch break and how long is your lunch break? Is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour? Is it 90 minutes? It doesn't really matter, no matter what you need and what you feel comfortable with, but make that decision. We need to plan these kind of things into your calendar, right? The fourth question, also super important, is the question, when do you feel the most productive? When do you feel the most focused, the most concentrated? Maybe it is in the morning, maybe it is at noon, maybe it is in the afternoon, maybe it is in the evening. Again, it doesn't matter at all. Everyone is different. We are all different people. And for me, for example, I love to work in the mornings. I'm not super productive, not super focused in the afternoons, but that's just me. Maybe you love to work in the evenings because you feel the most productive. But really check in with yourself and see, okay, when do I historically get the best work out? And then make that decision as well, okay? And finally, this is also a super important question, is the question, how much time do you need of uninterrupted project time? So oftentimes when we're looking into our calendars are full with meetings. So we don't have any time at all to really sit down and focus on a specific task. I think that's a huge mistake, and a lot of people are making this mistake. And so it's okay if you're not having uninterrupted project time reflected on your calendar at the moment, but I highly encourage you to start thinking about that category, because we all know that in those 30-minute blocks in between meetings, we don't really get anything done, anything at all, okay? And so think about how much time do you need, or you could also see it as how much time do I have left? Because in the first exercise, maybe you realize that you're already spending 30 to 32 hours per week on meetings. And then obviously there's not that much left, or you need to start getting a lot more clearer around which meetings do I actually need to go to? Which meetings do I need to prioritize? Which meetings can I remove, cancel, delegate, and so on? Okay, we're getting into all of these questions in the next video. But today I really want to just focus on diagnosis and those 5 key questions and decisions that I want you to make, okay? So if you want to pause this video here for a second and look at those 5 questions and really answer these questions for yourself. Okay, So now that you have the diagnosis part and you have made some key decisions, we're moving into the third part of today's video, which is operating principles. In the operating principles part, I am going to share only 3 things with you today, 3 principles, because again, I want to make this video as digestible for you as possible, and I know it can be really a lot at the beginning, okay? So in today's video, we're only going to focus on 3 things. I hope that you will start implementing these things on your calendar, and then next week we're jumping into more advanced settings and more advanced questions on how you can dive deeper into your calendar management. So, key principle or operating principle number 1. I want you to choose 2 times per week, 1 weekly and 1 daily, where you are checking your calendar. Because here's a secret. Yes, you need to start looking at your calendar on a more regular basis. Oftentimes, the reason why our calendar is so fully crammed is because we are not managing it. We just let people put stuff on our calendars, and it is not super helpful, okay? So you need to start creating a routine where you're looking into your calendar on a daily and weekly basis. And when you do that, when you're starting to have that routine down, it is going to be a lot easier to manage it on an ongoing basis as well. Because here's the next thing. Your calendar is constantly changing. So of course, you need to continuously manage it as well. I like to have a weekly check-in where, for example, on a Sunday evening or Monday morning, first thing when I'm starting to work, I am checking my calendar for the whole week. And I'm creating a couple of different spaces and principles in order to make sure that I have enough time for the things that I need to get done during the week, okay? The second part is checking in daily. And I really like to do that in the evenings because it is really nice to kind of plan for the next day. So make sure that you're checking your calendar in the evenings and you see for the next day, okay, am I starting at the right time? Do I have my lunch break? How many meetings do I have? Am I double booked? Am I triple booked? Do I need to move things around in order to create space for other priorities, right? So those are the things that are important to do. And those are the first things that I want you to think of, because I really want you to get into the habit of regularly checking your calendar and knowing what is on your calendar as well, okay? So that is principle number 1. Create 2 spaces per week, weekly and daily, where you are going into your calendar and you are managing your calendar. Here's principle number 2. Super, super simple. I want you to start removing times where you are double, triple, and quadruple booked, because that is just too much stuff on your calendar and it will cloud not only your calendar and not make your calendar really clear, but also your mind, okay? So remove all of these meetings, make a decision where you are going to, and then remove them. Don't just delete them, but then you have like a million things that are crossed out on your calendar. Make sure that you are completely removing them, okay? That is really simple, and principle number 2. The third principle is to remove trap time. This is something very simple to do where I feel like you can save really a lot of time and energy, because here's the thing. Many times we have meetings and then we have a 30-minute buffer or trap time, and then we have the next meeting. And we all know that during those 30 minutes, you're not going to be very productive, okay? You're going to go to the bathroom, you're going to get a glass of water, you're going to chat with your husband or wife or your kids, and then you sit back down, you maybe answer 2 or 3 emails really quickly, and then you have to jump into the next meeting. But it's not very productive, right? You're not really going to be very focused during that time. You're not really getting any big projects done, any important things done. And so I think it is really powerful to remove that trap time and build those meeting blocks that are chunked together. So maybe you have 2 or 3 hours of meetings back to back to back, but then you have a full afternoon off. You have 2 or 3 hours where you can completely just focus on the things that are important for you. And I think this is the most powerful thing that you can do. And that is why this is part of the basics calendar management training today. Remove trap time, okay? So 3 super simple things. And yeah, that's all I want to share in today's video. Like I said, I want to make it consumable and digestible, and I want to make sure that you're actually starting to implement all of the things that I'm talking with you about. So take some time today or this week to implement these things. Take time to do a diagnosis, take time to make those key decisions, and then start getting into action. If you're not getting into action, nothing in your life will change, okay? I am super, super excited about this series. I hope that you are too, and I'm really excited to share with you many, many more insights, many, many more tips on how you can manage your calendar, okay? So give me a thumbs up if you like this video, comment down below and let me know what is your biggest challenge with calendar management at the moment. And maybe at the end of the series, I will even do an FAQ video on all of the questions that you have with specific tips on the problems that you find yourself in, okay? So thank you so much for watching this video. I wish you a wonderful rest of your day and I hope to see you in one of my next ones.